I'm an American standing and walking in Moscow, Russia. And in this video, I am at a typical Moscow park with a French girl standing in Moscow, Russia. We're going to explore this park together and find out what a typical Moscow park is like. Welcome to Expat American. I am the Expat American, and this is
Gabrielle du voisin.
Find out what's going on in Moscow, in Russia, right now. Summer here is perfect.
So I've been living in Russia for over a year now.
So mild, so nice. Look like movie stars.
So if you go to the north of France, it looks very much like Germany. The south would look more like Spain.
Ta-da! Russia time. There's a bug. Not a style of church you would see in America. This looks the most like Florida. You mean France has prejudices towards Russia?
Yes, definitely.
Russians do skate. Who has the most beautiful women? Is it Russia or France? So we're standing in the shade for a minute. It's a hot day. Did you know that it doesn't always snow in Russia? Russian men are more masculine.
Yes, and they have to.
Than French men and perhaps American men as well. But what about me? Oh wow, this is great.
Yeah, I have to admit that I miss cheese as well. I think the restaurants are pretty good. Service is excellent, much better than in France, so I won't complain here.
What about Wellington and Thomas Jefferson?
Probably we shouldn't have given up Louisiana. I think everybody would agree on that.
This reminds me of the Grand Canyon. And I'm a Floridian, so I'm feeling even more at home here. I'm about to hit the ground. So I'm from Florida, so the Moscow summer is wonderful. So mild, so nice.
You mean not too hot?
Exactly, exactly. It's like summer here is perfect.
I don't know, because Russians are complaining that it's already too hot here.
No.
They want the winter back.
No. They need to spend a summer in Florida and then they won't complain. It's beautiful. Look like movie stars. So guys, we just got here. We walked past the entrance sign. We camp on top of this hill. And the first thing that sticks out to me is how beautiful it is, kind of like a postcard. It's got the rolling hills and you can stand up on top of this hill. As you can see, they've got playground equipment for kids. Ta-da! Russia time! And what definitely makes this look like Russia for sure is the giant Orthodox church in the distance. So what do you think? Any thoughts? Any raw
I don't know.
thoughts?
I'm so happy that it's finally summer and I'm really enjoying it.
I'm about to hit the ground. Молодец. How does summer here compare to summer in France?
Well, it's kind of the same, but you enjoy it here much more because of the winter. In France, you don't have the 6 months of heavy winter.
I was just thinking that a month ago. There's a bug. I think because the winter is so intense, I appreciate summer more.
Definitely. The first little bugs that you can see, it's like, oh, I've never seen them in like such long time.
Yeah, that's cool. Another thing I've noticed, I think that Russia appreciates flowers more. When summertime comes, I see flowers everywhere, more so than I think I see in Florida. Not that Florida doesn't have flowers, but I just think, it's so cold and dark. Well, not so cold, but it's cold and dark long enough. When summer comes, they want to, put flowers everywhere and really appreciate it.
Especially Russian women. They really love the flowers.
Yeah. This reminds me of the Grand Canyon.
Really?
Yes.
I thought it was more impressive.
You can walk down, and it's steep, or you can ride a donkey. But they didn't let me ride a donkey because I'm too heavy.
I thought it was
height.
much more steep.
Not because I'm fat.
I believe you.
So we've come to the Orthodox Church. You can see the bells in the tower there. They've got the gold on it. So beautiful. Like I said, not a style of church you would see in America. How about France? Does it look similar to French churches?
No. We have very few Orthodox churches in France. It's mostly Catholic churches, so still not used to seeing them around.
So, Gabrielle, for people who don't know you, who are watching for the first time, who are you?
So I'm a French woman, Gabrielle, and I came to Moscow in November 2022. So I've been living in Russia for over a year now, and it was my dream for a very long time, so really happy to be here.
Okay, very cool. Awesome. And you have a channel?
Yes, I have a channel also. Mostly watched by Russian people, but at the beginning it was for explaining to French people how Russia really is and how safe it is to come here, because we have a lot of prejudices against the country, I think, in France.
You mean France has prejudices towards Russia?
Yes, definitely.
So then what would you say was your goal in starting the channel?
It was mostly sharing my experience and showing things as they really are and not as we see in the media, in the French media. But I came to Russia not for political reasons, just purely because I love this country and I wanted to learn the language and so on.
Huh, very interesting. You love this country.
Yes.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I came to St. Petersburg for the same time for just a few days. It was a random decision. And I really loved it. I started learning the language, learning the alphabet and so on, and I couldn't stop.
Really? Wow. How old were you?
I was, I don't know, 21 maybe?
Okay, okay. So it had an impression on you as a young adult.
Yes, because it reminded me of old France. And at the same time, it was something that I didn't know, completely unknown and alien, and that I wanted to discover. So.
And how long from your first visit did it take you to actually decide to move here?
I was a student at the time, so it was out of the question for me to move straight away. And afterwards, it was quite difficult to find a job. Even as an engineer, it's not really easy for a foreigner to find a job in Russia. So I had to wait maybe for, I don't know, 4 years. Yeah, I think it was 4 years before I was able to move here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What does your family think?
At first, they were not really happy with my decision, but now they're fine. I think they understand that I have a good job and that the country is safe, and so. But they still haven't been to see me yet.
And do you get to go back a lot or no?
I have already been back to France twice, and I'm going back in September for 2 weeks. But it's so expensive and long. The trip nowadays is quite long, so I don't want to go too often.
Because you have to fly first to the east and then to France?
Yes, through Yerevan or cities like this, for example. Yeah, it takes a long time. Also because I felt stressed out each time I'm outside of Russia. I want to go back and I'm so scared that they will not let me in.
So guys, if you're wondering, but Joe, what does this park look like in other seasons, like winter perhaps? Our cameraman has footage that he's going to show you in this video as well. So we've come to a nice swampy looking pond here in this park, which I think is beautiful. And you see that sign there, you know what that says because it's a picture, no swimming. But there are Russians actually swimming in the pond. So in some things, Russians are flexible when it comes to the rules. But I would say of all the places I've been to in Moscow, because I've been to this park before in other videos, this looks the most like Florida. If I had to pick a spot, it looks swampy, it looks nice in a Florida way. I can just imagine going down to the water's edge and getting eaten by an alligator. But I want to ask you, Gabrielle, because there's a lot of international viewers for your channel and for mine. If in a nutshell you had to, and I guess I'm asking you so you do, how would you like to define France, or what would you like people to think of who are foreigners who don't know much about France? What do you think they should think of when they think of France? I know that's a very broad question, but what would you say?
Well, for people who have never been there, I think the most interesting part is that France is very diverse. So you have very different types of landscape and architecture and so on. So if you go to the north of France, it looks very much like Germany. The south would look more like Spain. So I think it's the most interesting about this country. But then you have the French people. And usually what Americans say, by the way, is that they love France, but sometimes French people is still a little bit more difficult to get along with them. And I understand that because French people love their culture. They want to protect it. So they want to speak French and not English, to not necessarily have to adapt to the tourists. So I think it's the job of the tourists who come there too.
Okay, so French people have a reputation of being a bit harsher towards tourists, perhaps.
Depends on the tourist. If they make the effort to learn a few words of French, then I think there will be no problem.
Okay, because that's funny you said that, because I have been told that as a tourist in France, is that the French people might not appreciate that you're a foreigner, something like that.
Well, it's not the fact that you're a foreigner, it's that you don't speak French.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So guys, I wanted to be sure and introduce the cameraman. And I'm sure he's going to put the name of his channel on the screen right now, and it'll be in the description as well when he sends a video over to me, because he is not only the cinematographer for today, but he is the editor as well. So he is a cameraman. He's got his own YouTube channel, pretty big, and he happens to be one of my subscribers, and he just said, hey Joe, I want to make a video. So he's making a video for me today, guys. So let us know what you think in the comments.
Seems like I'm not even able to speak English.
So another feature of the park, we have a skate park. So yes, it's true, Russians do skate. Check it out. Do they skate like this in your city? So Gabrielle, I did not know much about Russia as a young adult, young kid. And the stereotypical impression I got from the world was that France was the place with the beautiful women. But now, I, of course, have been living in Russia for a while. I have a Russian wife. I'm around Russian people all the time. And I'm now being given the impression Russia is the place with the most beautiful women. So since I am now with a French woman, and you're an expert in being a French woman, tell us, who has the most beautiful women? Is it Russia or France?
Well, I have to be biased, of course, because even though I live in Russia, I have to be a little bit patriotic, no? No, actually, I think that Russians are more beautiful, but it's not only because of physical features, it's because they take better care of themselves, they dress better, they're more feminine in general, so I think I have to say the Russians, probably.
Okay, all right. So, to all jokes aside, so it looks like to you, in this day and age, culturally, Russian people, let's say, are taking better care of themselves and their physical appearance, and that's what is making the difference. That's what it looks like.
I can compare it only to Europe. I don't know about the States, but from what I heard, it's the case, yes.
Yes,
And,
I would agree.
taking better care, but also because they really care about their femininity, and I think it's very important for them and for the men and for everybody around. Whereas in France, we try to erase differences between men and women, and I think it's not very aesthetical when women are never dressed as women or try to look more than men.
Very good. You said that politically correctly. Sort of.
Sort of.
The best spot to talk about women is in the skate park.
Yeah. Okay, so then that leads me to my next fun, provocative question. You can take it seriously or not. So you are a woman who has lived and worked and experienced life in France, and now you're doing that in Russia. So socially, culturally, in the workforce, what is harder to compete with? Being a French woman competing with other French women in life, or being a French woman competing with other Russian women in life?
It's very difficult to answer that question because in Russia I don't have the same status as other women, I would say, because I'm a foreigner. I don't speak Russian properly, like enough to be professional, so I have to be employed only by English-speaking companies for now, unfortunately. So it's kind of difficult to compare. For now I've worked only in one company in Russia, and in France pretty much the same. I was a student. But I would say that Russian women are very determined. They know what they want usually, so probably it will be difficult to compete in the Russian world. Professional world. I'm a little bit scared actually sometimes of Russian women.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
Okay, and are you okay with saying, are you single?
Yes, I'm single for now.
So then, is it better or worse being a foreign woman in Russia, would you say?
I would say it gives me a lot of advantages because people are interested in France, despite the fact that France is less and less popular in Russia as time passes. But I still think that France for now is popular because of the culture, because all Russians have been growing up with the French movies and stuff like this, so it attracts attention. And people are just, Russians are very open-minded, I think, to foreigners and interested to know about like what foreigners think about their country. So
Right.
it gives me an advantage.
I completely agree with you. As a guest, it's in their culture to treat guests well. And another interesting thing that I think is worth noting is, like you said, that Russia still appreciates different cultures.
Yes.
We're in a Cold War now, and Europe, America, the West, they're not cool with having Russian stuff and talking about Russia. Whereas, I did the Ukrainian cafe video, I was just outside an Irish pub, Russia still appreciates these other cultures. They're not like upset with the people and the culture of these places.
I think that here people have a lot of common sense, so they manage to tell the difference between governments and individual people.
So we're standing in the shade for a minute. It's a hot day. Did you know that it doesn't always snow in Russia? And we just found some new construction here. We're not exactly sure what it is, but it's a stage. Maybe it's a rented place for weddings or something, perhaps. So that leads me to my other question is, what would you say are the differences between French men and Russian men?
I think it's a related question because French men are maybe less pushed to be so masculine as Russian men. And I think that in the States it's a little bit of the same. Maybe men have to be more masculine and to hold a role, maybe not to that extent as in Russia, but in France we are more égalitaire. I don't know how to say that in English. We have to be equal, so men and women bring the same
roles
thing.
are similar.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. They're being encouraged to be similar for the past 40 years or whatever.
Yes, and it comes from women actually, this movement. Though women are actually not very happy with the ending of it, with the end result, but it comes from them, I think.
Okay, so right now, Russian men are more masculine.
Yes, and they have to.
Than French men and perhaps American men as well. But what about me?
I don't know you enough. Tough question. The trap.
Oh, wow, this is great. Nice viewpoint. It's like I'm on a mountaintop almost. Or I guess big rolling hills. So what do you miss about France?
I miss, of course, my family, my friends, and also I would say sometimes the sweetness of life. That's a French translation. The fact that in France life is slower and people enjoy small things maybe more than in Russia or maybe in Moscow. In Moscow people are running around and maybe they take a little bit less the time to live.
Okay, well that's nice to hear that you're not completely hating on your country.
No,
you
I'm not
appreciate
hating on my
France
country, yeah,
for what it
definitely.
is as well.
Life is better here, but still I miss some parts of France. Yeah, I have to admit that I miss cheese as well.
Okay, all right, I gotcha. There are things that I miss. I mean, Russia has everything, but the style is not exactly the same for some foods.
Yes, we have to adapt to new products and everything.
At first I thought Russia didn't have grits, but Russia does have grits, but it's just not exactly the same as the grits I'm used to, for example. And I have been given the impression that France has the best food in general. Is that true?
I would say Italy has the best foods.
Oh,
On this
really?
one I won't be patriotic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How come? It's
France
just your
would be-
personal taste, or?
They have more tasty fresh products like vegetables and stuff like these, fruits, because it's even more sunny than France. And they also have cheeses that are pretty good, like gorgonzola, for example, mozzarella also. So France would be second. Also, they have a more like family-like style of restaurants, so it's easier maybe to appreciate, I would say, on a daily basis.
Okay. So Italy number 1, France number 2.
I would say so. Yeah.
Do you have any others for your list, or is it just those two? Do you have a 3, 4, 5? Does Russia rank anywhere?
I like Russian food, and I think the restaurants are pretty good. Service is excellent, much better than in France, so I won't complain here. But maybe it's not on the top list. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, to be fair, we spend most of our time in Moscow, and it's kind of an international city. Well, it is. It's an international city. And so we have all types of foods from all around the world here. I do think, in general, the food here is made fresher than in America. And, I think I've said before, like if you go to a Vegas buffet, it might be tastier, but you're going to feel sick afterwards. So it's like very, very rich. Here, the food is not necessarily as rich, but you're going to feel better eating it. And I do really like the food here. I think I prefer it now. I certainly prefer it now. So check it out, guys. They have a little amusement park here with rides you can pay for and crying children. So what I think is interesting is all three of us, the cameraman who's Russian, you who's French, me who's American, we have all grown up with a different version of history. So what I wanted to ask you is, what do French people think about Russia, about Napoleon, about Thomas Jefferson, about Wellington? Like what is their perspective on these things?
About Russia, definitely we have some pretty negative prejudices in France. We think, like most people will tell you, that it's a cold country full of bears and very dangerous country especially. So usually people don't really come here in Russia and they don't know much about it.
Okay.
About Napoleon, I don't know, it's a difficult question because it's a very controversial topic in France. Some people think he's awesome and some people think that nowadays we are maybe celebrating weaker people, and if you are too authoritative and if you are too strong, like too much of a strong leader, it's not supposed to be very good because you oppress too many people. So Napoleon is also considered as a very negative figure nowadays by some parts of the population.
Right.
And
I have noticed about Napoleon, some people hate him, but at the same time there's a romantic notion of him. And I wonder if this is because so much time has passed, we feel a little bit freer to be loose with our thoughts about the guy. So that's interesting that you say that some people in France like him and some people in France don't.
I think that British and maybe even Russians are more fascinated with Napoleon than we are in France. France, there
really?
is a
Okay.
sense of guilt around Napoleon, or people think that they have not to like him too much. They shouldn't like him too much because he oppressed so many countries around, so he's like the bad guy.
And France's thoughts on Russia, those are the thoughts today, but were they the thoughts when you were a child
Oh
as well?
no, definitely not. Because my grandparents are pretty fond of Russia, and I noticed that in that generation, despite the Cold War and everything that was going on, people have a pretty positive idea about Russia. Like Russians are very educated, dancers and musicians, and very talented people in their mind. And it's only in the recent generations that it went wrong.
All right. What about Wellington and Thomas Jefferson?
Well, I don't think that French people think a lot about them, except that probably we shouldn't have given up Louisiana. I think everybody would agree on that. Definitely.
Okay, I like that you said that. But now, is that said as a joke, or is there a serious thought
I'm
there
completely serious,
that,
of
that
course.
French people think, dang it, we shouldn't have sold
Of course,
Louisiana
come
for
on."
so cheap? For so cheap, or they should have kept it and had a
We should have
foothold?
kept it, of course.
Same for Alaska.
The cameraman said same for Alaska. Very interesting. We have come to a spot that I think of fondly because I filmed a video here with my two little kids called Russia 100 Years Ago, and there were people in Victorian dress dancing to Russian music and a fake train. It was wonderful. But the cameraman, I wanted to put on camera because he had so much to tell me behind the scenes about what this place was. I was like, forget it, you're gonna tell us. So what is this place, man?
What's good, guys? My name is Oleg. I'm Russian and I live like 1 kilometer away from this spot. I've been living here for about 4 years, I guess, and this park is my favorite place to film my videos for my channel. I'm a YouTuber. I run 2 YouTube channels in Russian and in English.
Nice. We'll put the links below.
Yeah, about 30,000 subscribers. So I do gear reviews, cameras, lenses, etc. A little plug from me right here.
Yeah.
So this spot is interesting because right now you can see almost nothing in here except for the stage right behind us, where a lot of different celebrations took place, like 9th of May, the City Day, whatever. There are free concerts for the visitors. And this exact spot is the ice skating ground. During winter time, I'll plug in some B-roll shots of myself and my family skating right here. I welcome you to come here in winter and enjoy the time together with families.
I like to ice skate. I have an ice skating video too.
Here's a link, right there, right there.
All right, guys, I'm excited. We are ending the video now here at a spot. You see that? That is a pool, and I'm a Floridian, so I'm feeling even more at home here in this park in Moscow, Russia. And the question I wanted to end with for you, madam, you're living in Russia. You love Russia, I assume. Does this mean that you will one day be the mother of a Russian family?
I definitely want to stay in Russia. So I think it means, yeah, having a family in Russia, probably.
Very cool.
I would want to.
Exciting to hear.
I hope so.
So guys, hopefully you liked this video and you liked us doing something together, because now I want you to go over to her channel, subscribe to her channel, and see me on her channel. She's gonna ask me questions, and I promise if you already know who I am, I've already been thinking of new answers and new things to share with you on her channel. And also don't forget to subscribe to the cameraman's channel. And I didn't say it before, but I should tell you now, when he was talking earlier, she was the camera girl, the French camera girl. Click the box to see what happens next, which will be her video on the screen, hopefully right now.